Hi everyone.
Hello, my name is Zuzana. I'm an expat and immigration consultant with foreigners.
And my name is Supriya and I am marketing and PR intern here in Foreigners.
Today we are going to talk about temporary and permanent residence permits.
Yes, and so we'll just wait for a few minutes and we'll see to get more traffic and we'll start pretty soon. Let me check how many people we have. Okay, it's going more. Yeah, we have got lots of questions. Yeah, I think you can start. We already have, and we also having hi everyone. We are having everyone is saying hi, and yeah, we have quite a lot of people.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. Maybe we can start with a brief introduction, like a summary of types of residence permits which foreigners coming to the Czech Republic can obtain. So basically, we should divide or make difference between EU citizens on one hand and non-EU citizens on the other hand, because the types of permits, the requirement options, it all differs and depends on if you are coming from the EU or non-EU country. So as for EU citizens can but don't have to apply for so-called certificate of temporary residence permit. It's not a requirement, although we recommend it, because if you're planning to stay in the Czech Republic for several months or even years, you might need it at some point. For example, if you want to register your car, or if you want to take a mortgage at the bank, you will need it. So it's good to have it, to be safe and have it. So it's the certificate of temporary residence permit. Then, as EU citizens are kind of considered also family members of EU citizens. Family members of EU citizens should apply for temporary residence card, which would allow them to stay here for up to 5 years. After 5 years, they can extend this permit. So that's the summary of EU nationals and their family members. On the other hand, it's foreigners coming from non-EU countries, and in their case they need to apply for a long-term visa, and after that for a long-term residence permit if they are planning to stay here for more than 1 year. In the case of non-EU citizens, each foreigner has to have a purpose of their stay. The main ones are employment, study, business. Then there might be family reunification, culture, and some other minor ones. So that's just a brief introduction of these permits. Plus, as we mentioned, we are going to talk about permanent residence permit, which you could get after 5 years of staying in Czech Republic, but there are some exceptions which I believe we will mention during the question part. Of course, the permanent residence card has some nice advantages for foreigners, so if you're eligible for it, go for it. Because, for example, you get a free access to the Czech labor market, that's one great advantage. Or you might be allowed to get some social benefits or pension after you retire. It's also like the easier communication with the Ministry of Interior is in some cases easier. For example, you don't need to announce or submit a new lease contract every time you extend it, so there are some nice benefits. So that's just a brief introduction to what we are going to talk about. Maybe now we can go ahead with the questions.
Yeah. So first question we have from Sukesh. He's saying, I'm from India. I am a graduate from CTU, Prague. I have access to labor market. I have now work permit for 2 years. If suppose I lose my job suddenly, how long I can stay in Czech Republic to find new job?
So if you're here based on an employee card, no matter if it's this dual or non-dual employee card, the non-dual basically means, as this is case of Mr. Sugesh, who has free access to the labor market, so which means that he has so-called non-dual employee card, which works basically just as a residence permit, as he doesn't need to have a work permit. But in any case, with both types of the employee card, you have 60 days to find a new job and announce this change of employment to the Ministry of Interior. So let's say you suddenly quit your job, you have 2 months to go to the ministry with a new work contract and announce this change. So 2 months maximum. Of course, do it as soon as possible.
Next question is from Becker. And say, my wife and I have received the last of our temporary residency permit. This one is for 18 months. The previous permit was the first one was for 6 months, which allow us to relocate to Czech Republic. Second, 2 year. Third, again 2 year. The 18 month will get us to timing when we can apply for the permanent residency, having been here by then in excess of 5 years. Now my question, after receiving to convert permanent residency, we will need to reapply for permanent residency at any point. How long is permanent residency permit good for, and who, if anyone in Czech Republic immigration checks upon after approval and the receipt of permanent residency?
So the permanent residence card is always issued for 10 years, no matter if you're like EU or non-EU citizens. After 10 years, you need to go to the Ministry of Interior, the Department of Asylum and Migration Policy, ask for extension. It's nothing complicated. You just need to bring your passport and the permanent residence permit. And if you are from EU country, you don't need to pay any administration fee. If you are from non-EU country, you will be also asked to pay 2005,000 Czech crowns, like with tax stamps. You need to bring tax stamps, but it's nothing like difficult. Just need to go there. Don't forget to go there, because you never know. There always might be some random police check. You always need to have a valid residence card. So that's.
Next question we have from Rahul. I'm an Indian. I came to France in 2012 on specific research visa and lived there for 6 years. I'm living in Czech Republic on scientific research visa since 2 years. Do I get any relaxation for permanent residency?
As far as permanent residency is concerned, there is no like allowance if you have been living in other EU country. There is only a possibility in case you lived in another EU country for more than 5 years. If you got permanent residency there, then you could apply in the Czech Republic for a long-term residence permit for citizens of or residents of another EU country. That's a special kind of long-term residence permit, but not the permanent residency. I mean, like your stay in other EU country doesn't give you like right to apply here for permanent residency. As I said, if you have permanent residence card in another EU country, you can apply here for special type of long-term residence permit. But still, you will need to have a purpose of stay, such as employment or study. Just the benefit is that the application process is usually faster, and also like the requirements for documents are not that strict as in other like standard cases. For example, you don't need a criminal record mostly. So, but as far as permanent residency, the answer is no, unfortunately.
Next question we have from Shankar. I work from IBM, holding an employee card, and my wife, kids having 1 year visa validity. How should I extend the visas? If my wife willing to work, whether she is eligible to work in the dependent visa.
So your family can extend their visas at the Ministry of Interior. Again, it's the Department of Asylum and Migration Policy. You will need to submit the required documents, for example, proof of accommodation, proof of finance, insurance, pictures, of course, application form, and so on and so on. After the visas, your family should obtain a residence permit, which means those biometric cards. And the other following question, if they are eligible to work, depends on their purpose. The thing is that in the case of family reunification, it's a little bit complicated in that there are actually two types. One purpose is called just family, the other one is family reunification. In case your wife obtain a visa with the purpose of family, then she would not be allowed to work without some additional work permit. But in case she has a family reunification visa, she would apply for prolongation or extension. She would get a residence permit with the purpose of state family reunification. Then she would have free access to the labor market once she receives the biometric card. As they are not allowed, or she is not allowed to work with the visa, but once she gets the residence card with the purpose of family reunification, she's eligible to work, as she would have free access to the labor market. It's important to check the code which is written on the visa or the residence permit. If I'm not mistaken, 95 is the code for family reunification purpose, and if your wife holds this code, this number, she's allowed to work, as she has free access to the labor market. If you're not sure, you still have some concern, just please write comment or drop us an email to prague@foreigners.cz so we can check the visa for you to make sure that your wife will be eligible to work.
Yeah. Next question we have from Alti. What is the requirement to obtain permanent residency after graduating as a medical student?
If you are coming from a non-EU country, which I suppose, basically you are eligible to apply for permanent residency after 5 years of continuous stay in the Czech Republic. As for the requirements, one of the main points is that you need to have a certificate of Czech language, but you wrote that you graduated. In case you graduated in the Czech Republic, you don't need you need to go through the Czech language test, as this is exception if you studied at least 1 year at Czech high school or higher educational institution, or at a university with the Czech program. You don't need to pass the Czech language test. Others have to. Again, there are some other exceptions, like for example, people younger than 15 years old or older than 6 years don't need to pass it, but all the others have to pass this Czech language test at the level A1. And plus submit other standard documents such as lease contract or proof of accommodation, proof of finance in case we are coming from an EU country, again, passport size photos, application form. So.
Yes. Next question we have from Honor. I applied for temporary residence permit, family member of EU citizen, in 2015. I received it in May 2017 with 6-year validity. How many years do I need to wait in order to obtain permanent residency?
So again, basically you are allowed to apply for permanent residency after 5 years, but in case your partner or the family member has a permanent stay in the Czech Republic, or even if she or whoever it is is a Czech citizen, then you could apply for after 2 years of stay in the Czech Republic, provided that it's a partner relationship, and that you've been together for at least 1 year. So basically, just to sum up, after 5 years, or in case you are partner of citizens of another EU country with permanent residency, or of a Czech citizen, and you've been together for at least 1 year, you could apply after 2 years of continuous stay in the Czech Republic.
Next question we have from George. Hello, good day to you too. I hold residency card of family member of European Union citizen. I'm not sure the situation with my insurance. I just wonder if I should buy one, or if somehow I have access to government protection without external insurance company.
So since you are a family member of an EU citizen, in case your partner, the EU citizen, is employed in the Czech Republic, or he or she's doing business, then you could fall under the public health insurance system as well. So just contact a public insurance company or us, so we can tell you more information or provide you assistance with that.
Next question we have from Abraham. Hello, I have residence card of family member of European Union citizen, and I would like to know what do I need to get a tax identification number, or if I get a job without it.
If you have a temporary residence permit based on being family member of an EU citizen, then you have free access to the labor market, so you don't need any work permit. You are allowed to work wherever basically you wish. You don't need to have any special work permit, so it's quite easy for you. If you were asking about the tax identification number, then it's issued for people working on trade license. If you wanna freelance in the Czech Republic, get a trade license, then you would be given a tax identification number.
Next question is from Emily. What is the best option for someone from Britain working as an EU pair in Prague? Should I get temporary or permanent residency? Is there any else I need to do regarding Brexit preparation?
Brexit, sure. So if you are a citizen of the United Kingdom and you're planning to stay in the Czech Republic, we definitely recommend to ask for a certificate of temporary residence permit at the Ministry of Interior. It's been also repeatedly advised by the ministry itself, because once Brexit happens, nobody really knows now for sure how everything's going to be. So it's suggested to recommend to get this certificate to be able to prove to the ministry later on, after Brexit comes into force, prove that you've been living in the Czech Republic before Brexit. So definitely go for it. As for the permanent residency, you would be able to get it after 5 years.
Next question we have from Mohammed. I plan to move to Czechia. I would like to know and get more details about obtaining permanent and temporary residency.
So again, if you're coming from non-EU country, you will need to apply first for a long-term visa. You need to have a purpose, again, as I mentioned, employment, study, business, or family reunification, and provide the necessary documents dependent on the purpose of stay. And after you come here, then you can apply for extension of the visa, which means you would get this biometric card, residence permit. And again, after 5 years, you could apply for permanent residency.
I'll take this again. So, next question we have, I'm a non-EU citizen and my spouse is a Czech citizen. What exactly process to obtain temporary residency?
So you need to visit the Ministry of Interior. It's again the Department of Asylum and Migration Policy. You will need to provide proof of your relationship. Provided that you are married, you'll need to bring your marriage certificate and some other required documents such as lease contract or proof of accommodation. You will need to prove that you live at the same address. Then you will also need to provide health insurance. Once you submit this, you'll need to wait, let's say, several months. The ministry has 2 months to decide on this case, but it often takes longer, so just be patient. This as the process in this type of permit in particular may take longer.
Next question we have from Daniel. I'll just go through the question. For a UK citizen making an application for temporary residency permit before 31st January 2020, Brexit day, if a purpose of application is listed as other, would the issued permit allow the individual to work in Czech Republic after the end of UK transit period, which is 31st December 2020? Second question is, for the same citizen, if an application was made to convert the temporary residence permit to permanent residency after 31st January, again the purpose of application is listed other, would the issue permit allow individual to work in Czech Republic after the end of this? And he also said regarding the second question, converting temporary residence permit to the long one, not permanent residency.
That's a very good question, because there are a lot of UK citizens who are applying for this certificate of temporary residence permit, apply with the purpose of other, which means that they are not employed, they are not studying here, and as EU citizens they don't really need to have a purpose, so they just sign declaration of so-called other purpose. Based on this they will get the certificate. But yes, the problem may happen with the Brexit after the Brexit day comes, and as what we know now, after this transition period, which will end at the end of this year, most likely you will not be allowed to work. But it's not nothing has been decided yet, so we cannot say for sure. But most likely it seems that you would not be allowed to work, as you would after that you would be considered as non-EU citizen who need to have a work permit. So I would definitely recommend to change the purpose during the transition period, to make sure that you wouldn't have problem, you would be allowed to work in the future. So to find employment and then change the purpose to employment or business or some other.
We have...
And yeah, it's just to mention the permanent residency. It's basically the same what I said now, but every foreigner who has permanent residence card has free access to the Czech labor market. So in case you've already obtained a permanent residency, then you don't need any additional work permit. You are allowed to work freely.
We have the continued question, is that will I be able to work during I'm waiting for my temporary residence, knowing that I'm an EU family member?
If you are an EU family member, once you apply for this temporary residence permit, you have free access to the labor market, so you're allowed to work. Other thing is that some companies may be a bit hesitant to hire you, as the application is still in the process. The company cannot be sure that you would actually get the residence card in the end. So, but that's other thing. Like from the legal point of view, you're allowed to work. You have free access once you apply, and before the decision came into force.
Now we can move to the questions we're having. Need information on business immigration, if you can provide.
Okay. So as a business, there are basically two options. You can work as a freelancer based on trade license, or you can also set up your own company. Setting up a company is a bit more complex process. It takes more time. Again, differs like if you're EU non-EU citizen. Because if you're a non-EU citizen, you will also need a business visa. So getting a trade license or setting up the company is the first step. But only after you do this first initial step, then you can apply for the business visa at the Czech embassy. So the process bit like time consuming. So be prepared for it. But basically, get the trade license and then apply for business visa together with the trade license and other additional documents such as proof of accommodation or others.
Okay. Next question is from Rahul. Hey, does staying in EU zone previously, other than Czech Republic, for longer than 5 years, anyhow help in getting permanent residence card?
We already talked about this actually. So you're not eligible for a permanent residency, but you could apply for this long-term residence permit, which it's called like for residents of other EU member states. And as I said earlier, the process is a bit less complicated. It has some advantages. It should be faster, so you can apply for this type of long-term residence card. Then there is another exception in case you are a holder of EU blue card. In case you lived in other EU country based on the blue card, and you accumulated together 5 years, like let's say 3 years, for example, in France or Italy, and then at least 2 years here, you could apply for the permanent residency. This so like special exceptional in case for EU blue card holders.
Next question is from James. I'm married to a Czech woman. I'm currently living in Pradlovice with my wife. I have B1 Czech language certificate. We were not well informed when we applied for my visa. We applied for temporary residence permit. We are currently in the process of visa. Was temporary residence the best choice? Because I heard you mentioned benefits of coming with the permanent residency. Was temporary residence the best choice, and can I reapply for the permanent residency?
I would say it's the best choice, like in terms of the benefits of the permit itself. The other thing is that this type of residence card, the process take quite long. It may take longer than some other types of permits, such as employee card, for example. But after you get this temporary residence card based on like reunification with a EU family member, as I mentioned, you get the free access to the labor market. This permit is issued for 5 years, which is great because usually other long-term residence cards are issued for 1 year or maximum 2 years in the case of employee card. So there are many great advantages of this. But as I said, the process is quite time-consuming. The ministry and the foreign police, they might check your relationship to make sure that it's not fake, and stuff like that. So you will probably be waiting longer than in case you applied for employee card, for example. But once you get this temporary residence permit, you'll have many advantages.
Next question is from Mayank. Is it possible to start working once we applied for long-term residency for the family reunification, which entitles for the free labor market, and we need to wait till it approves?
You need to wait until it's approved, until you get the biometric card. Before that, you could only ask the labor office for a special work permit, but which would allow you to work only like for 3 months maximum, then you would need to extend it. So I guess it's kind of easier or more convenient to wait until your residence permit with the purpose of family reunification is approved, and you will have free access to the labor market.
Next question is from Teiko. He has 2 questions. If I have permanent resident status, can I transfer this status to another EU state, given in case that I have a valid reason like work to move to other country? Second is, do I have any place or recommendation for Czech courses?
So the laws, the immigration laws, differs, from country to country. So I cannot talk on behalf of other EU countries. But as I mentioned earlier, in the Czech Republic, the fact that you have permanent residency in another EU country doesn't give you the right to have permanent residency here, but you can apply for the special long-term residence permit for residents of other EU countries, but not permanent residency. And as for the courses, there was a question about.
If we can go for some Czech courses.
If it's about Czech language courses, then I would definitely recommend Charles University, which has a special department for teaching Czech. So again, if you need to contact, please just write us an email or just write a message on Facebook.
Thanks. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Lee. Has question, the 2 years of permanent residency count from what day I arrived one date, come to the police 2nd month after I got my temporary residence 6 months later. So what is the I'm sorry, we are not able to get your questions.
Maybe if you can then clarify a little bit. Afterwards, we will get back to you like after this webinar.
Yes,
or
you can write us an email, or you can comment down below, or you can message us on Facebook. Yes. Next question is from Gabriela. Could you please shortly explain the benefit of permanent residency and temporary residency regarding the health insurance for EU family member, if that matters?
Once you get a permanent residence permit, no matter if you are EU citizen, non-EU citizen, or family member of EU citizen, you fall under the public health insurance system, which means that you're basically required to pay the monthly payments. So you're not required to have commercial insurance. You will be insured as Czech citizens, so it would be public health insurance.
Will A2 Czech language level be required for permanent residency? Question from Hasni.
For the permanent residency, there is, for non-EU nationals, there is a requirement to pass the Czech language test, and the level is A1. So it's basics.
Yeah, I guess you already know A1, so you can apply. Next question is from Abdul. I am currently in Dubai and I'm looking to move to Czechia. I want to know how I can apply for permanent and temporary residence card, or I can apply for the trade license visa. If so, I can work or do business there. Is there any option for getting residency via investment?
So you need to apply first for a long-term visa. You will be applying at the Czech embassy. Once you get the visa, you can extend it here from the ministry in the Czech Republic and get a residence permit. But again, you need to have a purpose. It could be business. You mentioned trade license, which means that first you would need to obtain the trade license, which would be inactive until you get your business visa. Or you can apply for some other purpose, such as study, I mentioned employment. As for the investment, there is also this type of purpose, but it's not very used, to be honest, as the requirements regarding the invested money is pretty high, so it's not very common. Again, if you want some more detailed information, please drop us an email. But as I said, it's really not common at all.
Next question is from Solanki. Is working freelancing is easy or settling up with the company is easy?
Like as for the process, definitely getting trade license and work as freelancer is easier. It's not that time consuming as setting up your own company. Also, to get trade license, you just need to pay basically to pay administration fee at the trade licensing office. So it's definitely easier to go with the trade license, but you should choose based on like what kind of business you wanna do here.
We have a suggestion. Okay, thank you for the suggestion. We'll try using a microphone, or we'll try to. He said we'll try next time. Thank you. Next question is from Katka. Do you know, in case when the partner applying for the temporary residence permit weren't married, but with enough proof of relationship still got visa?
Of course, there are many cases like those. In case you're not married and your partner wants to get this permanent residence card, since you cannot submit the marriage certificate, you will need other documents proving your relationship. We recommend as many supporting documents you can give to the ministry, the better. You should provide your common pictures from holidays or some celebrations, family gatherings. You could also provide some supportive letters from your family or friends, basically confirming the relationship. There are many different ways how to prove the relationship. You can also submit flight tickets or some hotel reservation to prove that you've been traveling together. But so the basic requirement is that you live together in a common household.
Next question is from Hamad. If I live in Pakistan and I want residence permit of Czech Republic, is that possible by investment?
Again, basically we already answered this question. As I said, the investment is really, there are just a few, let's say, cases per year, I dare to say. But please, if you want to know the exact number, the requirement, please just let us know and we will get back to you.
Next question. Do you recommend that I should book an appointment with the immigration office before I arrive to Czech Republic, just to avoid a long waiting process by my application?
It's not really clear if you've already had some residence permit here, visa or not.
Yeah, she is waiting for the... The first question was, I'm an EU citizen and as well as a Czech citizen. So if you are already not in Czech Republic and you want to obtain temporary residency, so she...
Okay, so if you want to apply for temporary residency based on being a family member of an EU citizen or a Czech citizen, this type of permit is applied here in the Czech Republic at the Ministry of Interior. So if you have visa-free regime, you can just simply come here, arrive in the Czech Republic, and then visit the ministry. Yes, definitely make an appointment beforehand, because else you might spend hours there. So definitely, if you can just get an appointment. Also, there are pretty long wait times, so as early as possible is recommended.
Yeah, that was the...
just mention if you have visa-free regime, you can simply come here. If you don't, if you need a visa, first you will need to get Schengen visa, so-called tourist visa, to come here and then apply for this type of permit here.
Yeah, that was the last question. And if you have any more questions, or you want to more details, so you can write us an email, you can write us on our Facebook page. It also depends if you are living in Brno and you have questions related, so you can write us on our Brno page or Prague page, or to our head office Facebook page. And you can email us to...
Sure. If you're like living in Prague or planning to relocate to Prague, you please write us an email to prague@foreigners.cz. If you're planning to live in Brno or already are living in Brno, then drop me an email to brno@foreigners.cz. Or we also have offices in Plzeň, Hradec Králové, so you can also write an email there. All the email addresses are listed on our website, foreigners.cz, so you can find all the necessary details, contacts there.
And we'll get in touch with you as soon as possible. Yes.
Okay. Thanks a lot for your questions. There were some really nice, interesting questions.
Yes.
A lot of them. So thanks
See you
again.
next time.
See you next time. Have a good evening. Bye.